Hi, good morning, everyone. Just Ching, have Brother Johan tested the video and sound already? Tested
Brother
already?
Robert, yeah, Brother Johan has tested, Kan.
Yeah, okay, come. And Sister Lily, over to you.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, okay. Let us start now. Warm welcome to Abut Masters, Brother Johan, Hualien Dharma team, and brothers and sisters around the globe to Saturday Hualien Dharma Talk. A very good morning. Let us start the session for today. Recently, disasters have happened so rampantly, one after another, due to the great imbalance of war elements. Now with COVID-19 pandemic around the world, Master have great concern and earnestly urge everyone to repent and adopt vegetarian meal to protect life and cultivate our great love towards living beings and for the goodness of society and the world. Let us send our sincere prayers into the 10 directions. May the Sangha land be free from disaster and peace prevails in the world. Let us sing the prayer song with sincere piousness.
In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. All my heart is filled with sincere prayer. From all corners of the world, let us join our hearts and pray for a world of harmony and peace. From my heart, I pray. May we join our hands, our hearts as one. Spread the seeds of great love, nurture wisdom evermore. Let us fill the world with hope. In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. May all the Buddhas know my prayer. All united with one heart, let us end our hate with love. May there be no suffering hereafter.
May all minds be purified. May there be peace in the community. May there be no disaster in this world. Let us recite the universal love and blessings. With loving respect, gratitude, and confidence, let us wish every person in our lives a healthy body and enlightened mind, and total fulfillment in universal love. Now, let us expand this consciousness to include every person in the world, every being in the universe. Let our unified love make this wonderful world even better. Let us all immerse ourselves in the joyful embrace of universal love. Utmost gratitude. Before we hear a review of Wondrous Lotus Sutra, let us invite our Buddha Masters to lead us in paying homage to Triple Gems. Let us pay our respects for these teachings and explanations to the Buddha and Master Cheng Yen by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise, thumbs together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Buddha Masters who could join us today. Yeah, today we have Brother Johan, who will be sharing with us on parables of the Lotus Sutra, and followed by Brother Huang, who will give us Dharma talk. Yeah. Okay, next let us invite Sister Suching to share with us her summary for last week's. Yeah, we'll go with Sister Suching first. Yeah, Sister Suching, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Okay. Let me just move my... Okay. So last week we had Brother Sun Hop with us. And Brother Sun Hop reviewed his life at every decade. That was last week. And recalled the key events that he has played. From across the timelines, the key learnings and the memories made through all the experiences and significant lessons that he has paid. At 1, he spoke of growing up in his family in a household packed with people. At 10, he vowed to study hard and be diligent, though that was not so simple. At 20, he met his wife and was introduced to the world's dark reality when a person cheated him because of his innocence and naivety. But he did not let the incident taint his opinion of the goodness in humankind as he reached 30 and started his business using knowledge and heart combined. It was 1998 and his business was caught in the crossfire of Indonesia's ethnic fights, but his shop survived unscathed, protected by parking attendant knights. They protected his shop as Brother Sun Hop displayed kindness to them every chance he got. So karma threw an invisible shield, even though the deeds were long forgot. If goodness attracts goodness, surely the formula is easy to replicate. At 40, Brother Sun Hop started his life in city with full force and unafraid. As if reborn with not just learnings but understanding, a better world to create, he started adopting Tzu philosophies in skillful means as he creatively innovates. Sowing more good seeds everywhere he goes, with everyone he encounters, creating opportunities for his staff to shine and their talents to be uncovered. This is a life worth living. Brother Sun Hop is excited about the future and ever grateful for finding Tzu with its wholesome, kind, practical, and effective treasures. Thereafter, Brother Johan spoke to us about 4 all-embracing virtues. Brother Joe's sharing last Saturday was on the 4 all-embracing virtues. Which one is more meaningful? Which one works for you? Charitable giving is the act of giving without expecting anything in return. It can be monetary or non-monetary, like a smile or a greeting or just genuine concern. Beneficial conducts are acts that benefit the recipient beyond the present time. It is giving what the person needs, not wants, and can even be to get the person back in line. Loving speech are words of encouragement in gentleness and compassion. It is saying things with empathy and probably the best form of communication. Collaborative efforts needs heads and hands to come together as one for a common goal. When harnessed correctly, this virtue has the power to heal the giver and the receiver's heart and soul. Not one is more meaningful than the other, and in varying degrees, they all work like magic. It is the art of deploying them at will to help others, and by extension ourselves, that is amazingly strategic. And that is my sharing for last week's summary. I'll pass over to Sister Suching to introduce our next speaker. Thank you so much for listening.
And Sister Suching for the wonderful summary of last Saturday's session, and Sister Lily for the prayers. And brothers and sisters for your presence. We are most privileged to again have Brother Johan to share with us. And the title for today's talk is The Parables of Lotus Sutra. Brother Johan, as a member of a Dharma as water team, CGUS, Brother has been part of translating the subtitles for Master's Lotus Sutra lectures for 7 years, working on episodes all the way from introductory chapter to the chapter on Medicine King Bodhisattva past life. So hearing this, we will anticipate more books to come from Brother. The latest which we have are these 2 books, and just now we heard from Brother that there are more coming. So all watch out for it, including the Di Zhang Jing, the Bodhisattva Treasury, the medicine, like what we have mentioned, the medicine, and this also. So let us continue to wait at the Jingsi Book Cafe. May there be more books from this great team. Okay, and this time let us listen here from Brother Johan on these parables, on his thoughts on the parables in the Lotus Sutra. Over to you, Brother Johan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be back with you all. This is, I think, my 3rd time sharing here, and it's such a pleasure every time. I mean, you're all such an inspiration for me. So thank you so much. If anyone has any feedback, I mean, whether it's positive or suggestions, please feel free to send me an email. This is my private email address below here. So as Sister Suching was saying, I'm a member of the Dharma as water team, and I think last time I talked a little bit about the books that we translate, but this time I would like to talk more about the subtitles that we have translated. So this team, we have actually, before I came into the team, we translated the Water Repentance by Master, which is it's just so wonderful. And then when Master started teaching the Lotus Sutra, we started translating the Lotus Sutra subtitles as well. So we're now, I think broadcasted already is about 1,778 episodes. And I'm very happy to share that right now we have actually translated up to 1,830 episodes. So after this rerun series has caught up, then the new series, the new episodes will start to be broadcasted. So we're really looking forward to that. I think it will be another year or so before that happens, but there are new episodes that are coming. And apart from that, there are also the DVD episodes. So this is the early episodes of the Lotus Sutra they were cut down because in the beginning, Master only taught for about half an hour. So they did the episodes to standard length of 24 minutes for the first few hundred. And then Master started teaching longer and longer, around 40 minutes. So they increased the length of the episode to about 40 minutes. And then she started teaching even longer. So at some point, they increased the length of the episodes to 30 minutes. Yeah. So at some point, they realized that it's just impossible to cut down Master's speech from almost 1 hour down to 30 minutes. So they started broadcasting the full-length episodes. But before they started broadcasting the full-length episodes at episode 972, the full-length episodes are provided in the DVD format. So those nowadays, they are all on little hard disk drives that are being sold by Jingse Publishing. And before the hard disk drives, it was on actual DVDs. So those are the full-length episodes where a lot of extra, especially stories, had been cut out for the TV episodes. So when you watch the TV episodes that are available online of Lotus Sutra, then especially in that meantime, between maybe episode 400 and so and up to 971, there's actually a lot of really wonderful material, especially stories, missing because they had to cut down the episodes from around 50 minutes and down to 30 minutes for the TV broadcast. So we were so happy when Dai TV decided to start to broadcast the full episode, no matter how long or short it was, after 972. But for the earlier episodes, you can find them on DVD. So definitely recommend to go back and really study the Lotus Sutra episodes, because this is Master's pure teaching. Her own words, and you can hear them, you can see Master, and you can read the subtitles. We also have translated the Essence of the Body Mind, which is also a wonderful, wonderful program, which is Master's thematic teachings. So they have picked together and combined teachings from different time periods about some particular subject. So this can be, for example, recycling, or it can be the issue of drugs in today's society. There are many, many different episodes, which are all really wonderful. So I recommend to take a look at these, and they're all on the Tzu Chi Culture and Communication Foundation channel on YouTube. So definitely recommend to go back and study more of Master's teachings through her programs, through her TV programs. I think I mentioned last time that we have already come out with a Sutra of Infinite Meanings. So this is a 2-volume of Master's teachings from 1970, if I remember correctly. And it's such a wonderful book. This was one of the books that really got me hooked on the Dharma, I have to say. While my wife was in the ICU, I was reading the Sutra of Infinite Meanings, and that was the same lectures, but the single volume version. And then now finally we get to translate the 2-volume version, the full lectures by Master on the Sutra of Infinite Meanings into English. So they are already available. I know Sister Suching has been reading them already, and she has been saying that she really appreciates the translation. So we're so happy about that, and very excited that Lotus Sutra Chapter 1, the introductory chapter, is coming out. It's coming out soon. Should be in the next couple of months, actually. We're at the very, very final stage. Just want to make sure that everything is as good as it can be, because this is such an important teaching. The introductory chapter, the chapter where the Buddha talks about, and Manjusri and Maitreya talk about the sun moon lamp radiant Buddhas, the 20,000 Buddhas, and this entire story of how the Buddha, how he made this light, which showed all the worlds in the East for the entire assembly. It's amazing how wonderful this chapter is, and also how wonderful Master's explanations are. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this coming out. It will be very soon. So please stay tuned for this and make sure that you get it once it comes out. And we also have, I also mentioned this last time already. So those of you who can read Chinese might have been enjoying following the principles.tzuchi.org.taiwan. So this is the kind of summary of Master's teachings on a range of different things, especially different sentences that Master uses a lot, as well as her teachings on different events, like the 921 earthquake, for example. So all of these, and the story of history of Tzu Chi, taken from Master's speeches and talks at different occasions. This is also an amazing resource in Chinese, and it's now available so far partially in English. Part of the resources are available in English, and we're working to get more of it out. And so just go to tzuchidharma.org. That's where you'll find the English version of this amazing resource as well. So we're very excited that there is so much material available. And I'm sorry that to just have taken so much time with the background. I hope this is okay. I would like to go into the parables of the Lotus Sutra. And I would also like to remind everyone that I can see the chat. I'm worried that you might not see my full screen if I have the chat open. But if you have things that you would like to share, actually, does my chat window block the screen right now? Do you see like a gray box on the screen? In that case, I'll make sure to close this chat window for now. Okay, I'll close it just to make sure. So today I would like to share a little bit about just my own impressions of the parables of the Lotus Sutra. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I really, truly love the Lotus Sutra. It's such an amazing sutra. I mean, as you all know, I mean, Master talks about the Lotus Sutra all the time. It's the pinnacle of the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha taught these skillful means for 42 years, and then finally he felt that the time was ready. He was soon about to enter parinirvana. The disciples were starting to get into their own. They were starting to get to the point where they would be able to accept the Lotus Sutra. So the Buddha started giving the Lotus Sutra. And you might remember that he didn't give this easily. Sariputra had to ask 3 times before the Buddha acquiesced and accepted to actually share and teach the Lotus Sutra. So this is the pinnacle of the Buddha's teaching. It's the ultimate teaching in Buddhism. It's the teaching of the Bodhisattva way. And of course, it's the very foundation of the Jingsa Dharma lineage and the Tzu school of Buddhism. So I mean, these are obvious reasons to read the Lotus Sutra. But much more than that, it's also a very thought-provoking sutra. It's beautifully written. It's entertaining. It's fun, and it's absolutely captivating. So I mean, my talk today is all about trying to help you see just how amazing the Lotus Sutra is and how wonderful it is, and inspire everyone here to really take the time for yourself to study the Lotus Sutra and to read it, not just because Master says so, but because it's a wonderful read. It's a really wonderful read. So now I've already stated my hidden agenda, my purpose for giving this talk. So you might know that the 7 parables of the Lotus Sutra are the burning house, the poor son, medicinal plants, the conjured city, the jewel in his clothing, and the pearl in the top knot, and then finally the doctor's children. This is the order that they come in the Lotus Sutra. And they come in this order for a reason. I mean, they're a progression to help the disciples get ready, mature their causes and conditions so that they will be able to accept the teaching of the Bodhisattva way. And those of you who have listened to Dharma Master Chan's lectures have all heard about these already. So in a sense, I mean, I'm only repeating a lot of what you know already. So I won't actually go into the details of each of these parables. And I'm sure that all of you already know what they contain. So I won't go into details of exactly what they contain. But I would just like to share some of the things that I really love with a couple of these parables. So I kept asking you to study the Lotus Sutra. And you might say, that's very difficult because, I mean, where can we find it? So actually, there are plenty of translations available, including, so I will send you a link right now, actually. So there is one that I found that is available, the whole thing is available online for free. There are also several that are in book form that you can order. Currently, there is no compilation of the complete sutra translation based on Master's explanation. So the translations that we have done for the TV subtitles, there's no compilation of this. And the reason, of course, is that Master hasn't finished the sutra yet. So we are compiling them as the books come out. So very soon you will get the compiled version of the introductory chapter, but you won't get the full sutra until many, many years later, of course. So currently, if you want to study the sutra translation based on Master's explanation, then the best option right now is to actually read the sutra text from the transcripts on the Neptuner website. We do have transcripts that are official, but unfortunately there was an incident with the CGUSA servers. So unfortunately, this website has not come up yet. But Neptuner is available. It's volunteers. I believe that they are in Malaysia actually, who have taken down the subtitles from the translations of from the subtitle translations, both the Chinese and the English. So I will send you the link right there. You have, so the first one, the PDF there, is the translation of the Lotus Sutra that I have a link to here. And then the second one is the Neptuner link, so neptuner.666forum.com. So you can go there. And if you want to read the Lotus Sutra part specifically, almost all the episodes have the word sutra passage right before the sutra passage comes. So you can look for the word sutra passage. I noticed that the most recent episodes on Neptuner don't have the English translation. But the recent episodes are rebroadcasts from the earlier episodes, and the earlier episodes, I believe, all have the English translation. So what you can do is go back all the way to the beginning and start reading from the beginning. So that's what I would recommend for those of you who want to study the translation of the Lotus Sutra based on Master's teachings. And this goes all the way up to chapter 19 or 20, I believe. So you can read a lot, including all the parables are already translated in this. So I really recommend that. Okay, so I saw that someone wrote something in the chat. Let me see. Brother Johan. Oh, okay, so you're just summarizing. All right. So actually, if you have a question or you would like to interrupt me, just unmute yourself and interrupt me, because that way I don't need to read the chat, but just unmute yourself and interrupt and ask me questions if you have any questions. So the parable of the burning house was taught by the Buddha after giving the prediction of Buddhahood to Sariputra. And this parable, it's so detailed, it's so beautifully written, and it's so frightening, it's touching, it's comical. It has like everything that a really good story should have. And so my boss, Sister Stephanie, she always talks about when we tell a story, we should tell it so that people get like all the five senses, the sights, the smells, the sounds, and all of this is right there in the parable of the burning house. So today, since you all know the parable of the burning house so well, I would like to just read to you from the sutra and point out like so you can get a feel for this beautiful language and the amazing details of this parable. And most of this comes from the repeated verse. As you might also know, the Lotus Sutra, most of the parts of the Lotus Sutra have what's called the long prose form first. So it's in prose. And then it comes again, the Buddha repeats, or whoever it is that's speaking, repeats their words in a verse. And most of the time, the repeated verse is much shorter than the long form prose. But for this parable, the parable of the burning house, the repeated verse is actually much longer and much more detailed. So I will start with the repeated verse. So come with me on this journey. Feel free to put your palms together if you like, or just lean back and enjoy. And feel free to read with me if you'd like to. You don't have to unmute. You can just read with me if you'd like to, or you can just listen. There were kites, owls, hawks and vultures, crows, magpies, pigeons and doves. There were snakes, vipers, scorpions, centipedes and house centipedes, geckos and millipedes, weasels, badgers and mimes. All sorts of evil creatures were running back and forth in smelly places of urine and feces where filthy things flow. Dung beetles and other insects were gathered on top. Can you see it? Can you smell it? Can you experience this terrible state that this house was in? Fox, wolves, and wild animals chewed, trampled, and sucked and gnawed on corpses whose bones and flesh were scattered about. This pack of canines battled to seize small bits. Emaciated by hunger, they dashed about, seeking food everywhere. Can you see the scene in front of your eyes? I was going to take little photos and put them in, but I realized that there's no need because we can see it so vividly just from these descriptions. They struggle and fight to grab and pull, gnashing and barking at each other. This house was terrifying with its appearance having come to look like this. In this abode, a fire suddenly broke out. In an instant, it spread to all four sides, and the flames raged fiercely. The ridgepole, beams, rafters, and pillars quaked and splintered with explosive sounds. Smashed and splintered, they collapsed, and the walls came tumbling down. Imagine being in the house when this happens. You saw the photo I just posted. I mean, the photo of the burning house, and that's exactly the image that you get. This house is completely overcome with fire. But as you know, the children were just playing in there. They thought this fire was a beautiful plaything, something that they could use to play with. They had no eye for all the terrible creatures that were there, for the terrible scene. So the father tries to think, when he comes back, he sees the house on fire and he sees the children playing in there, and he tries to think, what can I do to help them? And this is where the comical bits really come into this sutra. Sariputra, the elder, then had these thoughts. My body and arms are strong. I can wrap them in a sack or place them on a table and carry them out of the house. Isn't it brilliant? He wants to carry the children out of the house, but then he thinks again. The elder further reflected, this house has only one door and it's narrow and small. My sons are young and immature and have no understanding. They're attached to the place where they play. Maybe they will fall off the table and be burned in the fire. So that's when he decides to use skillful means. So he calls to the children, and of course you all know this story. He calls to the children and tells them, there are these wonderful playthings outside, so please come out of the house and get these beautiful things. There are these deer carts, the sheep carts, and the great white ox carts right outside the house. So at that time, when all the children heard their fathers say that there were precious toys which suited their desires, their minds became emboldened, and pushing and crowding each other, rushing and racing, they competed to get out of the burning house. We can really see how these children are like pushing and crowding at the door and competing to get out of this house because they're so excited about these carts. Then once they come out, they say to their father, you told us that you had so many fun toys out here, sheep carts, deer carts, and ox carts. Please give them to us now. It's just the way that it's written. It's so funny. So at that time, the elder equally gave each child a great cart. Not the small carts, not the medium carts, but the great carts. He had this thought, I have unlimited wealth. I should not give inferior and small carts to all my children. I don't know about you, but when I read it, I can really feel that love that the father has for the children, this elder, who loves his children so much. All he wants is to give them the best, the greatest, the most amazing thing that he has. So now looking at this parable and the beautiful descriptions, why are they so detailed? I mean, it's talking about the urine and feces in there and the dung beetles that are covering this urine. We can see how it's all crawling with these insects, how there are these corpses strewn around and teared apart by packs of canines. Why is this description so vivid? I personally, so this is just my own personal reflections, I believe that this is to arise fear in us, to let us realize, to give us an image of just how awful the three realms are. The three realms, of course, are the realms of desire, form, and formlessness. So usually people would think that, okay, the desire realm is awful, but the form realm is pretty beautiful in the realm of formlessness. It's such a high level of the mind where we have this amazing meditative state. but actually all the three realms are terrible according to this parable. And what we want to do is to transcend the three realms completely and reach a higher level than these three realms. So examples of some of the pitfalls that we have in the three realms, of course, we have the greed for material things. We have sexual desire that brings us right down into the midst of the three realms. But we also have much more subtle things like self-satisfaction and pride. Like when we give to someone and we see them be so grateful. I mean, they had nothing and now they have something, and we feel this sense of, yes, I really did it. I was able to help this person. This sudden emergence of the ego and the self in this equation. And then there is the biggest pitfall of all that Master talks about so much. It's when we give to have expectations, whether it's expectations of thanks or expectations of praise. And I mean, I'm totally guilty of this myself. I mean, all of these things, obviously. When I give something to someone and you just feel so good, and then you suddenly realize that the reason I feel good is not actually because this person was helped. It's because I feel good about myself. I did a good deed. Yes, I'm so great. And this giving with expectations of praise. I mean, I'm sure that this happens to all of you. When you give something and you kind of realize with yourself that, oh, nobody praised me. Nobody said thank you. I mean, why does he look so grumpy after I gave him this? Shouldn't he be grateful to me? And you just feel like, maybe I shouldn't have given after all. Oh, this ungrateful person. And it creates these afflictions in ourselves. So what does Master say? How can we avoid these pitfalls? And what Master says for all of these is to practice the three spheres of emptiness. And maybe you remember the three spheres of emptiness. The three spheres are the giver, the receiver, and the thing being given, the object being given. And what does it mean to turn these three spheres into emptiness? I mean, what does it mean that they're empty? What it means is that without the receiver, the giver has nothing to give, no one to give to, so you can't be a giver. So actually, as a giver, you should be grateful to the receiver for being there. And also, the thing that you give, once it's been given, say, like this incredible work that you're doing in the Philippines and in Malaysia and in Indonesia, you give so much. I mean, in the US as well, you give so much food and necessities to people. They can live for an entire month off of the necessities that you're giving them. But once they're gone, I mean, once they finished eating, once the food is gone, or once the things have already broken or are worn out, then what's left? There's nothing left except gratitude. And that's what Master says. We should give without expectation and be grateful. So this is Master's recipe to avoid the pitfalls of the three realms and to enter a state of emptiness, of true emptiness, is to give without expectations and be grateful, without holding on to the amount that we gave or who we gave to, how many people we helped. I mean, we know it, we share it with people because we want to inspire them, but we don't hold it into our hearts and keep that thought with us all the time. Oh, I've been so great, I've helped so many people. But once we finish helping, we move on to the next. So that's Master's recipe. So now, next to the parable of the poor son. So this parable was spoken by the four lead disciples to express their understanding and their repentance after the Buddha shared the parable of the burning house and the three carts. And this one too has these very rich descriptions, and it's so touching and so comical. So I would like to do the same thing, to read a little bit out of this one. And again, feel free to put your palms together if you like. I mean, this is what Master Chan asks people to do when she reads out of the sutra. But you don't have to. You can just lean back and enjoy. Feel free to read along if you like, or just lean back and enjoy. So from afar, he saw his father occupying the lion's couch, feet resting on a jewel stand. There were Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and householders who all respectfully encircled him. Necklaces of pearls valued in the millions dignified his body, while servants and attendants holding white plywood flanked his left and right. Can you see this scene, how imposing this person is? Covering him was a bejeweled canopy, which was hung with flowered pennants. Perfumed water had been sprinkled upon the earth, and many prized flowers were scattered everywhere. The incredible luxury of this household, of this person, this elder. And the poor son is standing by the doorway and seeing all of this. Having such diverse, dignified adornments, his virtue seemed imposing and deserving of special respect. When the poor son saw his father with all his great might and power, terror filled him, and he regretted coming to this place. We can really feel, at least I can really feel that feeling of the poor son. He had been out for 50 years. He had no idea who his father was. He came to this certain city and he comes to this certain household and he peeks in through the door, and this scene is what he sees. So many people, so much wealth, such incredible adornment. And this person clearly is at such a high level, he can never imagine even asking for work in this place. So he regrets coming to this place and he runs away. And the father, seeing him, he immediately knows that this was his son. And he asks two messengers to run after him and to capture him. So the father quickly dispatched attendants to urgently chase and bring him back. At that time, the messengers swiftly captured him. Shocked and bewildered, the poor son cried out in complaint, "I've done nothing wrong. Why have you seized me?" The messengers, holding him even more tightly, forcibly drive him back. The poor son at this time thought that innocent, he had been taken prisoner and would surely be put to death. With that, he became increasingly terrified and fainted, collapsing on the spot. I mean, this scene is so hilarious. It's just such a vivid and amazing description. But of course, that's not the end of the story. The messenger sprinkled water on his face. He lets him go, and then he finds this way of gradually drawing near to the son. He invites him to shovel excrement, human excrement, from the toilet for 20 years. And then he starts to introduce him and makes him the head of all his attendants, so that he is the one in charge of everything that comes in and goes out of this incredibly wealthy household. But this poor son still cannot feel that this is his. So finally, at the end, the Buddha calls for a meeting. So at the end, draw near. He ordered his son to gather relatives, kings and high ministers, kshatriyas and householders. He then made this declaration: "All of you nobles should know that this is my son. He was born to me in a certain city. He then left me and ran away and suffered many hardships for more than 50 years. He had a certain name and I had a certain name. Long ago in that city, worried out, I set out in search for him. Suddenly in this place, by chance, I encountered him again. He is in truth my son, and I am in truth his father." I don't know about you, but every time I read this, I just feel so touched. I mean, you can really feel the intensity of the emotions of this father, the intensity of the love that he has for this poor son, who has finally come back to him and come into his own. And at this point, the father wishes to hand over all his wealth to the son because he knows that his own end is near. I just love reading these intense descriptions of this sutra. Now I'd like to share a little bit about my own reflections on this entire parable. So at least what I get from it, it describes the complacency and the lack of self-confidence of these four disciples. I mean, they felt content and happy with where they were. They had already attained Arhathood a long time ago. They were sitting there in the small nirvana. They had no afflictions. They didn't really have to care about anyone. They had already accomplished what they needed to accomplish. But they didn't have any wish or courage to go beyond. They didn't seek the great Dharma. And then finally, the Buddha bestowed his prediction of Buddhahood on Sariputra and these disciples. They finally realized that there is more to this. They don't have to stop at the place of Arhathood. They can actually become Buddha. They can go further and they can practice the Bodhisattva way. So this is my understanding of what this parable is about. And I can really relate to this. So I'd like to share a little bit about my own journey. So when I first started working in the DAW team, I was doing translation. I really enjoyed it. I felt that was fun. I had gone to do disaster relief. I loved doing disaster relief. But there was one thing that I really did not enjoy, and that was nursing home visits. So we would go to the nursing home every week, and I would just freeze. I mean, in front of these elderly, I would just freeze. And I just didn't have any interest in this end of life care or spiritual care. So Stephanie, she kept kind of pushing me to keep coming to the nursing home and joining the Hot Lotus Life program in Hawaii, where we go to the nursing home, not just for the group visits, but to individual visits. And I gradually started to realize that this is really an amazing opportunity. I mean, to connect with people. And I started to realize that the way that that I'm able, just like all of you are, to really help people just by chatting with them. And so Stephanie, she kept pushing me to take CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education, which is professional spiritual care training. And finally, in 2019, after 2 years of going to these care visits with the Hot Lotus Life program, I finally took this step and followed what she asked me to do and actually enrolled in an end-of-life care in clinical pastoral education to learn the first small step to become a certified hospital chaplain. So I only took 1 unit, so you need at least 5 units to become a board certified chaplain. I only took 1 unit, and it was 11 weeks full time in Hawaii in the summer of 2019. And I took together with these people and a few more. So the gentleman to my right, to my left in the photo, is the lead chaplain for Queen's Hospital in Hawaii, and it was just such an amazing experience going into a patient room, knowing nothing about what you will encounter, and then asking, how are you doing? And starting to hear their story come out and be able to be that presence that allows them, that calming presence that allows them to find their own answers and to find their own solutions to their problems. And it's just so wonderful. And I'm so grateful that Stephanie kept pushing me. So I kind of had to go beyond. I mean, I feel a little bit like these disciples to force themselves to step out of their own comfort zone and actually go out and serve people where they are at. And it's thanks to this that I started to feel comfortable to be part of the development of a chaplaincy program for CGUSA. And this is, we're just at the start of the development of a chaplaincy program, but we've already run spiritual care workshops. And I think maybe some of you have actually joined. I mean, we held these spiritual care workshops the first time in the fall of 2020, so 1 year ago. And then we had a second round, so different theme workshops in spring. And then now we're about to hold the second round of the first workshop. Same theme as the first workshop, a second time. And we already have over 70 participants. We actually were planning to put a cut at 60 participants, but there are so many of our participants that were there last year that want to come again. So we're so grateful that this was so appreciated and that people really seem to like these spiritual care workshops. And we're planning for 2022 to start the first level chaplaincy program, fundamental disaster and community chaplaincy, here in the USA. And this, of course, is only possible thanks to this incredible team of volunteers that are working with us and that are working on the curriculum, as facilitators, as admin, I mean, all of the parts that take for any retreat, it's all there for this program. So we're so grateful, and I'm so grateful to Sister Stephanie for keeping pushing me so that I can really be part of this endeavor at this point. So I think that is pretty much time for me. So I would just like to very briefly share about the last parable that I would like to share. And this is also the last parable in the Lotus Sutra, the parable of the pearl in the top knot. So this parable, it's so short that I will actually read the entire parable for you. As a parable, a powerful wheel-turning king, on seeing his soldiers have achievements in battle, rewarded them with all kinds of things. Elephants, horses, chariots, items to dignify their bodies, as well as fields, houses, settlements, and cities. Or he rewarded them with clothing, various gems and treasures, servants or wealth. He joyfully bestowed these things upon them. And if there were those with courage and fortitude who were able to accomplish difficult tasks, and I think when we say difficult here, we mean impossible tasks, the king would unfasten the pearl in his top knot and bestow it upon them. So this is the version of the parable in the repeated verse, but also the version in the long form prose is equally short. So this is the full parable. This is the shortest of the parables in the Lotus Sutra. And this parable, and it's very clearly described in the Lotus Sutra, this pearl in the top knot. So he has, this king has this hat like a turban where he has tied in a pearl. So you can't even see that the pearl is there. And this is his most precious belonging. And this pearl, he will only give it to whoever has been able to do really amazing deeds. And this pearl is the symbol of the Lotus Sutra. So he would only give the Lotus Sutra after 42 years, once his disciples had vanquished the armies of Mara. And so that means gotten rid of all their afflictions. And their causes and conditions had deepened and matured to the point where they were ready to receive this final pearl, this final treasure. And still today, speaking for myself, I am nowhere near where these disciples were, but we have the Lotus Sutra. He has already given this pearl out into the world, and it's right there for us to take. So today, we can actually study and practice the Lotus Sutra. So that's the message that I wanted to give today. And I hope that you can feel with me a little bit of how amazing this sutra is. It's deep, it's thought-provoking, but at the same time, it's so clear and so easy to read. It has these amazing, beautiful, and touching stories. And I only talked about 3 of the parables. The other ones are also, they're just beautiful, the peace that you feel when it talks about this great rain that falls on the medicinal plants. That winding, dangerous road that this guide takes us along, and then he conjures this city for us to rest. And the pearl that is sewn into the clothes of this drunkard, and he never realizes the pearl is there the entire time. And all he would have to do was just to take it out, and he could trade it for anything he would desire in the entire world. I mean, these parables are so beautiful, but also the other descriptions, this amazing pagoda that comes right out of the ground, and it's as big as a quarter of the earth, and it has this Buddha that has been dead for so many years, but his entire body is there, and his feet in praise of the Lotus Sutra. I mean, all of these stories and all of these scenes are so incredible. And you can read them just at face value and just enjoy it. Or you can go deeper and follow Master's teachings and really understand what do every single thing, what do all these things symbolize, and what is it that we can learn from them. And it is so applicable step by step in our daily living. So my final message to all of you and to myself is, let us study this sutra, let us study as well, and let us really let it come into our hearts and stay in our hearts, so that we can follow the Bodhisattva path, not only in this life, but life after life. So that's what I would like to share with you today. And I believe that is the end of my sharing. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brother Johan. It's always very wonderful to hear and see you. Okay, maybe behind me you can see Master here. Okay, yeah, today we have Jie Shifu and Huang Shifu here also with us. They walk in and they right away know this is Johan speaking. They recognize the sound and they recognize the voice, just like what Brother Johan said. I've never actually gone too much into the audio part of it, but I really enjoy Brother Johan reading to us. You know, maybe you should consider doing some audiobook for the sutra, because, you know, when the way you put it, you know, it does added this additional effect. You know, Brother Johan talked about, can you smell the burning house? I never thought of it that way. Perhaps because I never been to a burning house. But if I had, for example, in the Philippines, there were so many, you know, places where the slums or the villages, they have fire. Perhaps they can recognize that right away, and then they can be so attached and close to it. And but then hearing your voice has this calming effect. And then also the comical effect when you're trying to do the part where the servants were trying to capture. That part was hilarious. Yeah. Okay. So I didn't realize that the sutra has all these parts. You always thought that there's only going to be the serious part, right? But then when Brother Johan talked about it, we realized that there are these parts. And I think that's what the sutra is trying to teach us, that there's so many things in life that more than just, you know, meets the eyes, and more than just what we see and what we hear. Even the sutra, right? Even our master, sometimes and many times and very frequently, master can be very humorous, and also very able to be very close to everybody. So thank you, Brother Johan, and we do wish that we can hear more from you about the other parables, and also more about the translation efforts. When I heard about thousands of episodes that's already been translated, I think that's great work. And I think in Malaysia there's also teams of translation teams. There are the Pure Hearts translators, as well as the translation team for the branch offices, and I think they must have gotten a lot of support and also inspiration from you that carry them. And I think that's very important. Thank you. And especially to the last part when you talk about your own experience. I think that's just exactly that, right? Sister Stephanie, you know, share with you and taught you that there are more than just or more ways to help these elderlies. And I think just like what you have shown us today, that there are more than just the words and the teachings in the sutra. There's more than that. And the five senses. Really appreciate Brother Johan sharing today. You could have gone on more. You know, I think we're all very much willing to let you talk until the battery runs out or something. But nonetheless, I think wonderful, and it's always good to, you know, we keep it in pieces, and then so next time you come, it will be picking up from where you left off. Thank you. 是不是要讲一下？
Thank you so much, Brother Joe.
Okay, and Master, they sat here and they would guide over us. They will watch over us. Okay, now once again, thanks. And now I'm gonna head into my sharing today. And thanks to Brother Johan, because today it segues very well with what Brother Johan sharing today is. And well, I always say that because I have to say that it segues very well from what we just listened to. Okay, so today, before we begin, I'd like to share with everybody that we're going to, there's a group of us that's going to be following Master through the year-end trip around Taiwan. And so it's going to begin next Tuesday. And since then, it's going to be a journey of 37 days. And this is longer than ever before. And it's Master will be conducting the year-end blessing ceremony. And we see that this is very difficult. And a couple of days ago, there were these elders, very old volunteers, and older, I think more than 90 years old, older than Master, and that were here helping Master to construct the entire hospital, the entire project. And they were very close. You could tell how close they were. They come in and then, you could Master holding their, the hands and very close. But the guest was very old and was suffering through cancer. And he thought that it's not going to be long. And so he came to bid farewell. And you could tell that it was very sad. And this was something that you knew was going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So you decided to take it into your own hand and you say, I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. And so that's what happened. And obviously there were others came to see Master, and they needed the blessings of Master. They were going through, I think they're from Vietnam. They were going through some surgeries and it didn't go well. And so they needed blessings from Master. And it's just this image where you see Master herself so frail and herself not feeling well either. But everybody's coming to see her, to see Master, to get blessing. But yet who's there to bless her? Who's there to give her the strength? And I think that's the very part that saddens me, yet it also gives me a lot of strength, because even though she's so weak herself, she projects her strength to all of us. And when we are strong, we will carry that strength back to her. So I think that's what we need to always remember, not look at her as someone who is old age, and not looking at her as someone who is weak in any way, but rather seeing her and knowing we are her strength, and we are going to be her strength, and we're going to be the one that carry her and carry on the missions. Okay, so let me move on to so previously we talked about the different topics: sincerity, integrity, faith, and steadfastness. We talked about what it means, and we talked about the importance of having faith and also having hope, knowing that it's going to work, it's going to be there one day. It's the boundless sentient beings that we would be able to help. I think this is something that we're trying to make sure that we could actually understand the 4 different terms in a more in a more everyday way, in not so much in terms of religious terms or 实际 terms, but rather how we can actually use that in our lives. And last week, we talked about the 4 embracing virtues: charitable giving, beneficial conducts, loving speech, and collaborative efforts. We talked about what is the charitable giving. It's something very simple that we all should probably know. And we extended further to say that the charitable giving is giving what is needed. And beneficial conducts, it talks about helping others. Most notably, it talks about sharing the good teachings, sharing the good abilities, and also removing obstacles. You know, if you, for example, you go into the meeting room and you help everybody set up the chairs, even that's not your work, but you help everybody setting up the chairs, you help everybody pour the water, you pave the way for other people to be able to make things happen, right? So that's, in a way, beneficial conducts, helping them. And then loving speech, not just kind words, but words of encouragement and words of reminder. And last week, we talked about not just acting, not just action, but also talking and speak the kind words. And what that means is that last week, I think we heard from Brother and talking about his work, talking about his what he had done, not only for himself, but also for his employees. And we know that many things that we wouldn't otherwise know if there weren't stories and if there weren't people sharing those stories. For example, the words are just words, like what Brother Johan said today. The words coming from the sutra are just words, but if you read them, and even if you read them out loud, it becomes loving speech. It becomes a speech where there's emotion, where there is more attached. There's the five senses attached to it. And loving speech is the same. It's not just action, but also other people to speak of the actions and share that with others. And then finally, collaborative efforts. We talked about working in unity. And I think that it's not just working together. It's not just joint efforts, but it's actually in unity. Okay, so it's a journey. We talked about journey from a beginner, from just giving, and then all the way to finally working together. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about, let's wait for this. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the spirit of great love. This is wonderful. This is something that we all are very familiar with. There is also various versions of the song that you can listen to, and I believe there's also a version where Brother Johan sang too, in English. So this is something that we're all very familiar with, and I wanted to do this one because I think there may be more to it than the ones that we think we know. Okay, and I think it's very straightforward. There is no one in the world that I do not love. There is no one in the world that I do not trust. There's no one in the world that I do not forgive. And that's the spirit of great love. So wonderful. Now, this is what Master taught us about the spirit of great love, the three no's. Master said, no matter where you are, the Buddha Dharma is immersed within the people, matter, and objects, the everyday things that we are interacting with, and expanding our minds and thoughts, delivering the spirit of the three no's, or the spirit of great love. And what Master is telling us is that the spirit of great love is actually in everything that we do. And so let's talk about what they are. Okay, the spirit of great love. There's no one in the world that I do not love. So obviously, this is a question that first caught my attention: is what is love, and what is great love? What does that mean? And from here, we know that the great love, or there is no one in the world that I do not love, it means to love all. It means great love. It means love everyone and anyone. It means love everything and anything. It's everything, right? It's anything. And even the ones that you don't like, the ones that you don't like, the ones that you don't care, the ones that you don't know, you love them. How does that work? Okay, so the ones that don't like you, the ones that don't love you, the ones that don't want to have anything to do with you, you love them too. Now that's hard, right? Loving the ones that you don't like, loving the ones you even hate, loving the ones that you dislike, loving the ones that you don't care, that is different. So when we are here talking about there is no one in the world that you do not love, you begin to think about the people that you know. You begin to think about the people that you love, and you tell yourself, of course, I love them. And then you maybe will begin to think about the people that need your love. And so you said to yourself, I love them. You begin to think about the people that need your help. And then you begin to tell yourself, of course, I love them. But then there are others that don't enter your mind. For example, people that you don't like. Or maybe they do enter your minds because you don't like them. And they always enter your minds. But then there are also those that you don't care. You don't care. Who are those people that you don't care about? Perhaps it's someone who you think they're very well off. Perhaps it's someone that you just maybe don't bother to have any thoughts about. And then there are those people that don't like you. It's not the fact that you don't like them. No, it's the ones that don't like you. How do you love someone if they don't like you? How do you love someone if they don't care about you? How do you love someone if they don't even know you existed? So that is hard. That is difficult. And that's what Master have been teaching us to do. I think this is the transcending part. I mean, loving all is something easy to say, but then when you think about loving the ones that you don't like, or loving the ones that don't like you, that's hard. And so the first part, the ones you don't like, well, if you just begin to like them, you change yourself, then you can love them. But what about the ones that don't like you? They just don't like you. How do you do this? And that's the spirit of great love, right? So today, Wisdom at Dawn, we heard the story about the Buddha and Kasyapa, right? Talking about how the Venerable Kasyapa came from far away, and he was wearing this cloth, and he wasn't shaved, and his hair wasn't tidy, and all of that. And that's what it is, right? The Buddha as a teacher, and then Kasyapa as a student. There was this relationship. And so what we heard from today was that it's not enough for the Buddha to really have close relationship with his student, but the Buddha wanted to do more, right? The Buddha wanted that other people respect the Venerable Kasyapa also. So it's not enough to just for you to love all either, right? There is no one in the world that I do not love. No, but you need to extend this love for all and to all, meaning that it's not enough that I love all, but it's more important that everyone has the same feelings too. So that's why when you say to a master, Master, I love you. What did she say to you? What did she say to us? She said, then love the ones that I love. That is precisely what that means. It's not enough to just say, there is no one in the world that I do not love. And you're thinking about the people that I love. No. Then do you love the people that they love too? That's what Master said. Extend this love for all, to all. Just like what the Buddha did today, right? In today's Wisdom at Dawn, that's what we heard. The Buddha wanted other disciples who might know or who might not know who Venerable Kasyapa is. Therefore, he did everything that he could to show and to let everybody know, if you love me and if you respect me, then you love the ones that I love and you respect the ones that I respect. That is the extension. That is the extension. So Master said, there is no one in the world that I do not love. This I refers to you, me, and everyone. So it's not just me. It's not just me that I love all, but it's you, me, everyone. And Master said, you all should be like me, Master. Love all in the world. Okay, so that's the part about there is no one in the world that I do not love. And I wanted everybody to take a little bit step further and maybe even be able to ask yourself. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're always doing, right? Something so simple, yet it could be more profound if you take deeper thoughts into it. And I think that's what Master wanted us to do too. it looks very simple on the surface and makes it easy for everybody to sort of get in and understand and feel that, wow, this is wonderful. I understand. And then it takes you another deeper when you begin to immerse yourself in the Dharma. What does that mean? What does that mean to love? And what does that mean? You know, there are the ones that I love. Do you love them? And do you love the people they love too? Do you love the people that you don't love and you don't like? What about the people that don't like you? What do you do about that? And that's what Master have been trying to do too, right? Loving all those people that don't know about us, don't care about us, or don't like us. Okay, now there's no one in the world that I do not trust. So this is something that I extended from previously, that I think is very important to have that trust and faith. And what is that trust? What is that trust? Trusting in others and also trusting in yourself. Believe in the good in others and believe in the good in yourself. And that's where Master also using this faith and trust in others and in self to carry her through many, many, many things. But I think most importantly for me is to have faith. What is this faith? This faith equals, for me, hope that this will work. And this is something that we talked about before. Knowing that eventually that we can all be purified, right? 人心净化. I believe that there will be one day that everybody can be such, right? 社会祥和, that I believe that the society will eventually will be there. And I really believe that there will be a day where the world would have no disasters. I believe that. And I think when Master is making such vows, Master also believe that. You have to believe that. And it's not blind. It's a hope. It's an objective. It's our goal. And getting there will be very long. And it's just exactly like the Earth Treasure Sutra, the Bodhisattva, who said that only until the day when there is no more beings in hell, right, that eventually he would attain enlightenment. And I believe that. And he believed that too. He believed that there will be one day, there will be no more sentient beings in hell. And that is the time when he will be enlightened. He believes that too. And I believe that's what it means to be hope, to have that hope. And we know that there is good in others and there's good in everyone. So once again, going back to today's story, right? You take it into pieces, it can be broken up into many parts. So today, once again, the Buddha and Venerable Kasyapa. So the Buddha also taught his student to say that, in the Sangha, maybe you should, not dress in that way, and maybe you should tidy your appearances up also. But the Venerable Kasyapa has his own consideration and has his own, as Master put it, attachment. So he chose not to do all of this. Now, there is not much you can do about this. And Buddha didn't, right? Buddha would tell him from time to time, but he would let it go because he knew that he's not going to change. Buddha knew that Venerable Kasyapa isn't going to change. And so, but then there is belief, there is faith in that one day, that Venerable Kasyapa will understand and will eventually change. And I think that is a very important inherent hope in everybody, that that they're not there yet, but you have to hope that they will get there sometime. And same thing with ourselves. Have faith in yourself, trust in yourself, that one day, if you keep your eyes on your goal and keep your eyes on how you want to be, and if you look at Master every day, you know what? There are going to be one day, if you try real hard, that you're going to be like her. You're going to be like Master. And that's what I'm talking about. Trust in yourself and trust in others, that there's hope in all of us. Okay. So Master said that there's no one in the world that I do not trust. Now that we're learning and understanding the Buddha Dharma, we must believe that our heart, sentient beings, and Buddha are no difference. There's no difference between who we are and all sentient beings and the Buddha. We can all be enlightened. You believe that, yet we know that we're very far away from it. But we also believe that if we try hard enough, if we continue at it, we will be there one day. And I think that's very, very important. Okay, so lastly, there is no one in the world that I do not forgive. And I think this is probably the harder one, because in order for you to forgive, that means something must have happened, right? Loving others is more of you can choose. You choose on your own. And trusting others, once again, is you can choose. But forgiving others, that means somebody had to done something to you for you to forgive, or somebody had to done something for you to choose to forgive. So it's almost like it's a reaction. And this is the one that it goes into the people, right? So loving all and trusting all, it's sort of a, if you are only by yourself, if you're living far away, if you're living in the mountains, you could pray to the God, you can pray to the Buddha, and you can pray that everybody is good health. And that would mean, in a way, that you love all, right? You could live harmoniously all alone in the mountains, and you can trust all the world, you can trust all the sentient beings are taking good care of the earth. But in order for you to forgive, that means you must have some kind of interaction with people or with things in this world. Okay, so I think the word forgive is a step up from what we talked about before, forbearance or endurance or patience or anything. Because forgive means that you're not just holding yourself back, you are letting it go. And I think that is the hardest part. Maybe the first step is forbearance. Maybe the first step is to not say nasty things, right? When someone did something to you, the first thing is to not fight back right away, right? So that's the first step. But the harder part is to letting it go. How do you let it go? And that's the hardest part. So is this additional thing that can you do? Are you willing to do, right? Are you willing to love those that don't love you or don't trust you or don't forgive you? Are you willing to love those? And even if you're willing, how do you get them to love you, right? And then the next part is to trust. It's not that you don't trust anyone. You trust everybody, but it's not that. It's how do you make sure that you have this faith, trusting in this faith that we're all going to be able to achieve the Buddhahood. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to get there? And then forgiving, it's more than just forgiving. It's actually more than forbearance and endurance. Master said, there is no one in the world that I do not forgive, even though everyone has intrinsic Buddha nature. But after all the effects of eons of afflictions, everyone is, after all, still remains a mundane being. And that means we're still making our mistakes. We're still committing errors. We're still doing all the things that we're not supposed to do. So even though you trust everyone to have this intrinsic nature, Buddha nature, you also know that they're going to make mistakes, many of it, including yourself, and nonstop repeating mistakes. So even though you know that they all have this intrinsic Buddha nature, you trust, but you know that they're going to make mistakes, and therefore forgiving will become part of every day. And I think that part of this, the spirit of great love, and I think it's also a journey. Once again, it's a part of a journey, right? You begin by saying you love all. And that is where today's Wisdom and Dawn also talked about, which it talks about compassion, loving kindness, to having this compassion, to be willing to love all. You love all so that you can't bear to see them suffer. And because you can't bear to see them suffer, you try to teach them, or you try to help them relieve of that suffering. That's what you do. That's love. And then you realize that people, they don't believe that this will work. They don't believe that they can be helped, or they don't believe that they'll one day be able to get rid of all the suffering. That's when you begin to trust. Master said, if you cannot get rid of the attachment and all the afflictions yourself, how can you get rid of the afflictions from others? So once again, if you want people to trust themselves to be able to help, you have to trust yourself too. So there's no one in the world that I do not trust. Meaning that now that you begin to help deliver the sentient beings or transform the sentient beings. You realize that people don't have hope and faith. So you have to instill that faith and hope in yourself and in others. And then finally, people are going to make mistakes while during this. And maybe they don't even think of it as a mistake. Maybe they think it's your fault. And maybe it is your fault. So do you forgive others and do you forgive yourself? These are the three things that are constantly at work, right? You love all, so you try to help them. And then you're helping them knowing, believing that you can help them and take them and deliver them to a much better place, whether it's by teaching Dharma, whether it's by giving them, things that they need, relief goods. And then in all this while, you're going to have some conflicts. You're going to have some problems with the people that you care about, with the people that you're helping, or the people that work with you. And that's where you need to forgive also. Okay, so that's what I think the spirit of great love, a deeper sense of that. And I wanted to carry on more. It's out of this, loving all, trusting all, and forgive all. I think the reverse is also true. One of the things about the parables that Brother Johan talked about today is that I like to do role playing. And what does that mean? Because many, many times that the story was spoken from one perspective, whether it's the elder, whether it's the father, whether it's the son, whether it's whoever it is, depending on who the storyteller is. And so we usually see a particular part, a particular story from one perspective. And so for me, I like to role play a little bit. I like to think about, what if I am this supporting character? What if I am not the main protagonist? What if I am this soldier that is standing by the protagonist, the king? Would I be the first one to die when I charge? Usually that's the first guy to die, the first one to be shot. I think in the old days, the drama, Star Trek, they have this thing, right? All the captains, they all wear their meaningful uniforms, and then the red shirts, okay, the red shirts. And that when they go on the mission, it's always the main characters, the captain or Spock or the doctor, and then followed by one other person. You cannot tell who their name is. You don't know who they are. They just show up, right? And that if there's going to be a laser or the phaser beams fight, he's going to die first. So sometimes I look at myself and I think, well, what if I'm that person, right? What happens? How would the perspective change if I am that person? So same thing. The spirit of great love talks about you loving all, you trusting all, and you forgiving all. But what about you are reversing, right? Reverse and tell that, well, how can I be loved by all? I think Master talked about this before. That is her wish, that she can be loved by all. And how can I be trusted by all? And how can I be forgiven by all? And I think that's something that we should all think as well. Okay, so lastly, we're going to go ahead into the discussion part. And this is part that I think is something more important to ask yourself, right? Which one of the three no's do you think is the hardest to do? And which one is hardest for others to do to you? Okay, so for example, what is the hardest thing to do for you? Is it hard to love all? Is it hard to trust all? Is it hard to forgive all? Okay, and then reverse that. Now you are the recipient of that love and trust and forgive. What do you think is the hardest for others to do to you? Is it difficult for others to love you? What do you do to make people hard to love you? Is it difficult for people to trust you? Is it difficult for people to forgive you? Okay, so which one is the hardest? And as usual, I'm going to begin this. You can start to think about it. We don't have much time, but I'm going to answer this myself as starting, so people know my answers. And the answer always changes. Don't hold me to it. When I share this tomorrow and you go like, well, Brother Joe, your answer yesterday wasn't this. Well, because people are changing, right? And I need to depending on the situation. So which one is hardest to do? I think loving all isn't as hard as the other one, which I think is trust. I think it's really difficult to trust the ones that you see, that you know have been doing things that is opposite of everything you believe in, right? How do you trust that? Sometimes after so long, you lose that faith and trust. For example, I don't know why I say I give up, but I almost give up already in trying to tell my parents to be vegetarian, right? It's not that I don't trust, it's just that I lose faith in that. I tell them every day, I tell them all the reasons why it's good to be vegetarian, and I make it easier. And it's not like they don't have the means to be vegetarian, but I just don't see it. I don't have the faith anymore that they will one day be vegetarian in their lifetime. I don't know about the future, but I just, maybe, in the next life they become, I don't know, cultivator practitioners, or maybe the next life they become cows where they have to be vegetarian. I don't know. But I just don't see in this lifetime where they are truly going to do that. So I don't know if I have that faith. Okay. So that's the hardest thing for me to do. Like, you see it and then you go like, well, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think I don't have the faith in that. Now, what is the hardest thing for others to do to you? I think it's forgive. Because, a lot of times, the reason why it's hard to forgive is because the people that you're trying to forgive don't believe that they've done anything wrong. And I'm very hard-headed in that if I know I'm wrong, I'm very quick to apologize. I know I'm wrong, but I'm hard-headed in that, well, in the cases I don't think I'm wrong, I am not wrong. And therefore, even if I'm wrong in other people's eyes, it will be very difficult for them to forgive me when I myself don't feel that I'm wrong. So it will be very difficult for others to forgive me when I myself don't even think that I'm wrong or don't need to apologize. Okay, so that's the sharing for today. And I do wish to hear more from all of you, your thinking, your thoughts on the spirit of great love. What is the hardest thing for you to do? And then what do you think is the hardest thing for others to do to you? Is it hard for others to love you? You make it so it's very difficult for others to love you, difficult for others to trust you because you don't trust them, or what? And then is it difficult for others to forgive you? Okay, so we're gonna open up the floor for anybody, for anyone who would like to share, and Sifu also. Okay. So.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Okay, since Brother Joe has been asking such kind of can say easy, but I think it's not that easy that we can really to apply in the daily life. So actually, the spirit of great love, I think this is kind of like a selflessness of love within ourselves, and I think which one is the hardest to do within these three, which is who is the one that you don't love or don't trust or don't forgive. I think for those who are lack of understanding, by if someone to do something that make you angry and which is you can't forgiveness to that person, I think this is because we lack of the understanding to this other the third party part of their perspective. I think that it's just like sometimes when I myself, I have no intention to make mistake, and so that I will do this kind of action and that can make you feel angry. But I think if you can think on my way and just thinking that maybe because I lack of experience and I have lack of knowledge and to solve this problem, so that I create such a big problem that you can't to make it solution and to get it better to solve it. I think this is the in between that how we to do our communication and to make it go smooth. So if we have an understanding for each other, I think that we will make things go smooth. This is what I think that the hardest thing is like if we lack of to trust each other and to have you know, to think on other part. Just like 互相体谅 here, I can say that this is we need to, you know, to this kind of things. So, and anyway, I think is it possible for our master teacher to give some feedback as well regarding this the spirit of great love? Do you think that do you have this problem for the one that you don't forgive and you finally you solve the problem, or maybe the one that you love? 你爱的啊，或是你有没有什么方法解决，或是你不信任的，或是你不原谅的，可是你做到了，你可以share，要吗？
要做到的，
要，
我不会讲英文，
用中文吗？Okay. So let's invite our master teacher to give her own opinion.
各位菩萨，大家早安。今天非常感恩有涵还有4号的分享。那今天4号分享的说原谅胜过于忍辱跟忍耐。我觉得这一句话对我非常的受用，因为平常我们都是忍，那我就觉得说忍到最后，因为没有办法修到一个空性忍而无忍，是修到忍无可忍，到最后就爆发了。所以我觉得，然后一味的忍耐，有时候你没有经过智慧的一个消化，可能你就没有办法去突破这个困境，只是一味的忍而已。我觉得选择一个原谅，我觉得原谅它就是属于放下。那我分享说我自己在大寮的一个过程当中，因为在大寮它是可以，大寮就是我们的厨房，它是可以结好缘最快的最多的地方，也是最快的地方，但也是火烧功德林最快的地方。因为在大寮是非常的紧张，而且又非常的忙碌，又非常的累。那有一次我就在切菜的时候，然后因为就是每个人的意见不同，切的菜形状不同，后来到最后我第一次来讲的时候我就忍耐，然后第二次第一次我就说要切这样的形状，我说好，然后第二次又说要换第二个人来说要切这样的形状，我又说好，然后第三次来，因为就要那个下锅了，然后大家就情绪越来越紧张，然后口气越来越不好，然后我就开始就学习说也要忍耐，然后等到第四个又来的时候，我已经忍不住了，就火烧功德林了。所以这只是一味的忍耐还不够，那我就觉得说4号讲的说原谅，对，因为每个人的我们要去体谅每个人的想法不同，对，然后我这次也学到了一个说就是对人多一点的慈悲与度量，然后能够多一点的善解与体谅，对，那就是每个人的想法不同，来自不同的家庭，所以每个人的背景不同，想法也不同，所以慢慢的我就开始学习去用上人的4神汤，懂得知足感恩善解包容。那我就觉得说要感恩每个人来共同成就这样子的一件大事，能够来为受苦的众生能够来帮助他们离苦得乐，其实也是在帮助我们自己离苦得乐。然后同时因为众生的烦恼很多，我们自己的烦恼也很多，所以我现在都是尽量用上人的知足感恩善解包容来原谅对方，对，然后去体谅对方，然后给自己就是也是在修自己的多一点的慈悲跟度量，那这个度量也就是包容的心，然后多一点善解跟体谅，对，这个善解还有体谅就是一个慈悲的心。那在学佛的过程当中，我觉得慈悲跟智慧是真的需要是双轨并行的，我们才能够走得长走得远。对，那因为有上人的法，非常感恩，在很多的困难当中，还有在很多的烦恼当中，都能够一一的克服。所以不要担心烦恼，只怕没有法。所以 就是信任，我是觉得说天下没有不爱的人，就是我们要有一颗慈悲的心然后天底下没有我不信任的人，我们相信的人都有佛性，只是因为人还有习气，对，其实包括我们自己也有习气，所以我们要去体谅对方，就是去体谅对方，去包容对方，然后没有我不原谅的人，对，那每个人都会做错，每个人我们自己也会做错，我们也需要别人来原谅我，所以我也需要去原谅别人。那我相信，如果有这种开阔的心，我觉得天下无难事。对，那非常感恩感恩有韩师哈，还有黄师傅的分享，非常受用，感恩。
好，感恩师父，感恩师父。好，那师父要先离开哈，师父要先离开哈，感恩师父，好，感恩师父。
知道。
OK， 好，感恩，那真的很感恩师父
Thank you.
Okay, so as we have not much time left, maybe we just have one. Maybe if anybody would like to share what your thoughts are.
Me.
Yes.
Cảm ơn sư phụ, cảm ơn con Sharon, cảm ơn sư cô Sapo. I want to ask to you, like you said you have to trust, but in this modern and then 21st century, it's hard to trust someone, and then about money and then etc. Because this modern lah. And then I found some words in internet like trust like a glass. If it's broken, you cannot like back to first. It's like nothing happened. It cannot like that. So what's on your opinion about this? Gan-eun.
Okay. Thank you, Sister Stephanie. Indeed, it is very the trust is very easily broken. You can imagine how it's hard to build up, but it's easy to be broken. So the hardest part is once it's broken, how do you make it back? How do you regain that trust? And I would like to open this up to anybody. Okay, anybody who has done this before, who has because I can tell you answers that might not be practical, right? Because it's just talking about, oh, you should see the goodness in others. You should see, switch roles, and it's very difficult. It's hard. So and so I don't want to do that. I want to hear from people who really did have the trust broken and be able to mend it and regain that trust. And I think if anybody would like to share with us, that would be wonderful. Anybody?
Hello, yes, hi. I want to share. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Recently, one of my close friends is broke my trust, and I feel really sad about that. But I just let it go, and I told myself, at least she was trying to help others. Even she used me, and but she tried to like make other friends get some good things. So I think still it's a benefit to me. So that's why I tell myself. But the daily I will try to protect myself a little bit more. I will not talk to her some like very personal thing or deeply thing, and not tell her something it might turn around, hurt me, or put me in some dangerous situation. But I still be friendly with her every time I've been with her, because I think it's better to keep the friendship or the working environment in that way. It's hard. It's hard when people like blocking the trust, but I think it's sad if I tell myself I don't want to trust anyone anymore. It will torture me be the devil or be the bad person. I just tell myself, it's okay. It's not my fault. I still do my best. I still try to be kind to other one. Hopefully she will see what I'm doing in the future. I can improve her and change her. You know, I'm still happy to see her happy face. You know, be good. That's what I told myself and keep remind myself. It's okay. I just do my part and be a good person. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's very true. I think it's hard to mend the broken trust, and but we can remind ourselves, reminding ourselves that what they're trying to do isn't hard to imagine. What they're trying to do is for the good of themselves or for other people that they're trying to help. I think that's something that you could always tell yourself. But I'm reading from, I think it was from Australia, and Angela talked about hardest is to love someone that have not forgiven, because obviously are still holding this grudge. And the only way to move on is within me. And I think this applies to what Stephanie was talking about, and also what Sister Sintong was talking about, which is how do you have this trust be mended? And the only way to move on is you. What does that mean? We can still trust others, but there's a different degree of trust. I think it was today's Wisdom at Dawn, Master also talked about that you begin to give different things, right? If the trust between you and the other person about something is broken, for example, you gave them the money and then they choose not to pay back to you, then maybe what you do, your interaction with your friend should not have money involved. It should be something different, right? Even though you'll be thinking, well, if I pay you the money and you won't repay, maybe I will not, ask you to pick up my son because I don't trust you with my son, So this is something that you would have to give him something according to the capacity, according to their capability, and maybe you're giving up too much trust and they can't hold on to it. So this is what I believe what Angela was talking about also, that to move on is within you. You can choose what you trust others with. And I think that's something you can, just like what Master, right? Master did the same thing. Asking us to do something and then failing. We failed her. And is she going to stop? She's probably not going to stop, but she'll give you something different to do. Okay. And that's the different attitude, that maybe we are the one that broke the trust. And so when Master sees us, she sees someone who failed. But no, she didn't see that. She sees someone who failed in one task. Now you just need to give a different task so that we could be able to succeed. So that's what I think that maybe from Angela's reply that we can help ourselves too. Okay, so all right. I see that Elizabeth, maybe this is our last one. Elizabeth, as the time is already past 8 o'clock. Elizabeth, please share with us. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. Okay. The hardest thing is to trust, because I have this experience before. I have this experience before. For 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, when I made a Facebook friends who that I don't know that person. So she asked as the request. At first I don't want to add her. I don't want to give her any request, but she want to add me as a friend. So eventually we became friends, and we chat on messengers until the next morning. But suddenly, when she talked about some private part, or something that we cannot say, something that the sexual word, at first I feel very worried, but because she is my friend. She was my friend. So I have to just snap some photo that in private part that I share to her, but I made that a huge mistake. So after I shared to her, I cannot tell my parents that I met this friend. But after I told my parents, and my parents asked me to block her down on Facebook. So eventually I was frightened and cried and ran away from home. But fortunately, the police found me. I ran away from home. Fortunately, the police found me that and brought me home. My parents, then my parents told me that it's okay. Once you did the mistake, you learn from the lesson. Not because that time I was very worried that my parents will report to the police, but I'm very grateful that they forgive me and comfort me and gave me advice that when someone so now I have to be careful when someone I don't know for sending a message or even sending like any business, or I have to filter out first, have to read the message to filter out whether that is right or not, that is wanted to trust or not. Then I make the decision. That's my sharing.
Okay, thank you, Sister Elizabeth. I just have to say that indeed we have to be very careful. I have to be very careful about the people we meet online. But that trust is indeed something that will have to be earned, and it comes from experience. I'm just glad that the police and all these things eventually turn out okay, and I hope that you are not hurt in any way during the process. But I think that earning that trust is part of the growing process. And I'm sure that's what Master is also thinking right now, is also considering every day, because she had done so much for the world, but does the world repay this kindness in the way that we all expect? No, it doesn't. But it doesn't mean that we should stop because she believes this is the right thing to do. So I think that trust is going to be hard to come by. But at the same time, we must know what is the right thing to do. And if this is the right thing to do, we should keep at it. And I think that's the very, very difficult part. Okay, so I do hope that Sister Elizabeth, you have, through the process, you have grown and also learned from the experience. And I'm just glad that things turn out okay. And let this be a lesson to all the everybody. Okay, so there's a lot of hacking going on, right? And there's a lot of people fishing for some information also. So we have to all be very careful. And so trust is not so much trust in everything you say, but it's more like trusting in that people have the good in them. It doesn't mean that they will not do bad things. When they do bad things, you try to forgive them, but you trust that there is good in them, that it can be awoken, it can be inspired, but it doesn't mean that everybody has it right now. It just means that it's there. You trust that everybody has the potential. Does that mean they have it right now? Does that mean we all have it right now? Not yet. Maybe not yet. Maybe far from it. But we all have the potential. And in the process of inspiring it, if they've done something wrong, then we have to find it in our hearts. Very difficult, but we have to find it so we can forgive them. And that's why there's a process also. This is also a journey. So thank you all. This is also something that it's very difficult when you talk about trust and forgive. It's sort of the air thickens and it becomes something that's not as easy as we talk about the four all-embracing virtues. But today we talk about love, trust, and forgive. It's something that we deal with every day. And that's when Master talks about when the Buddha Dharma is immersed in our lives. That's when we begin to grow and we begin to see the Dharma in our lives. And that's when we begin to use it. So hopefully something deeper for us to all think about. Okay, thank you. Thank you. This has been wonderful. Beginning next week, Saturdays, I will not be online. And I'm sure that there will be plenty of very good sharings for everybody. Once again, thanks to all the people and all the organizers, and thanks to everybody who is online to listen. We have masters coming to listen also. I'm not sure what their schedules will be. I'm sure they will try to be on Zoom when they can. So once again, thanks to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I'm Lily. Okay, Sister Xiu Qing have left for another sharing, the Dharma Cantonese platform. So I'll be doing the closing. So感恩to all the wonderful sharing, Brother Johan, on the parables of the Lotus Sutra, and Master De Jie and Master De Huang for the teachings on the spirit of great love, and also to Brother Johan on the teaching of the spirit of great love too. Okay, thank you for all these heartfelt and wisdom sharing. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence today. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Dharma masters and Hualien love to our life. Let us invite Dharma Master to lead us in paying homage. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and Dharma Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily lives. Let us pay our respects to these teachers of life's universal truths. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Shifu who could join us today.感恩. Okay, let us take a good photo. Yeah, please on your video. Okay, Sister YY, you'll be taking a video, the photo, right?
Yeah, Sister
Okay, thank you.
You're super smart.
Thank you.
Yeah, Karen so much, Brother Joe. Yeah,
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Have a great day.
Have a great day. Have a great weekend.